So Bullock gets out, and we saw what happens with Anthony Beavers right after getting ejected, and you think, this house of cards is going to fall. That just one injury at a key, or one absence, I should say, at a key spot is going to send this thing in a downward spiral. No, not on this team's watch, not under Alex Grinch, not under Lincoln Riley. This team's resilience is off the charts, and it's half a season, 6 games, and you have this kind of resolve, this kind of resourcefulness. It's absolutely spectacular, the cultural change that Lincoln Riley and Alex Grinch have put in place at USC. All this attrition, all these bodies, flying onto the shelf, unavailable, and the next man up mentality emerges. Linebackers held the fort without Shane Lee. Raylan Goforth was great. And of course you have, obviously Thule was a beast, and he now probably is more of a defensive MVP than Eric Gentry, but really the second half of the season is going to decide that. So we don't really need to dice that one up too finely, but Thule was a beast. Solomon Byrd might be the most unsung hero on this defense, that, he's not going to get the pub with Thule being who and what he is, Mr. Reliable. But Solomon Byrd, you always see him make a critical play on a third down once or twice a game. Also Tyrone Taleni, he was also very much in the mix. So that next man up, everyone making contributions. Special teams pinned Washington State inside its own 10 on multiple possessions. So when Washington State got a 41-yard gain on one of its drives, didn't lead to points because Washington State had a plus 90-yard field. Dennis Lynch kicks 3 field goals, which, hey, 16-point game, 9 points. Yeah, that really mattered. So everyone making contributions in what was really
and one of those field goals, Will Rose salvaged a terrible snap and got it into position for him.
Yep. Yeah, everyone making contributions. And this wasn't like the easy breezy Stanford game in week 2 where you get 5 TDs on your first 5 possessions without a third down. As people on the panel have been noting, there's been a little bit of nervousness, a little bit of unsettledness, in midway through these games. Is it all going to work out? And it's because it's year 1 under Lincoln Riley. We know that the best is yet to come in future seasons. So there isn't that automatic assuredness. I wrote this in one of my immediate post-game stories at Trojans Wire that, in 2005, you had the total belief during that season. Yep, we step into a pothole, we fall behind 21-3 at Arizona State in 100-degree weather. No problem. We got this. We know what to do. We have the resources. We have the elite players. In year 1 under Lincoln Riley, there isn't that automatic total trust. Not quite yet that it's all going to work out in the end, but this team is building that trust. It's earning that trust. And that really is my takeaway. What a tough team just 6 games into the Lincoln Riley era. It's magnificent.
Yeah. And Matt, can you get over, like we were talking about this a little bit ago, like I don't think you could script a better preparation schedule for us. We got, the cakewalk game, we got pretty weak Stanford. Every week it gets harder, a little more tests. It's putting us big and perfect position for this great conflict we have this week. Just real quick, Matt, I know there's going to be a whole show you're going to have with Mark to preview this.
Sure.
And guys, that show is now. Is it Monday or Tuesday?
Monday at 11 Eastern, 8 Pacific. Yes.
11 Eastern, 8 Pacific,
Monday Night
guys.
Football at USC.
It's a phenomenal. Mark does a phenomenal job. Mark and Matt chat about USC. You should all be watching. Try to watch it live. If not, catch the breakdown in the clips. We don't want to steal your thunder from that, but any quick initial thoughts on this big showdown in Salt Lake City coming up?
I'm not sure whether it was Tim or Rick on a previous Saturday post-game show here at the Voice of College Football, but either Tim or Rick, one of the two, mentioned that USC was playing with house money a few weeks ago. Well, against in this Utah game, USC will be playing with house money, right? Because it's the game that everyone in the world expected USC to lose before the season started. And because USC has gone unbeaten up to now, and then on the back end of this Utah game, you have Arizona, Cal, Colorado. Like, those are 3 layups. I mean, Arizona is giving up 50 burgers left and right that USC should move through that defense like a knife through warm butter, especially after getting a week off.
That's going to be so fun, isn't it?
I mean, so if USC, as we all assume it will, beats Arizona, Cal, and Colorado, three pretty, that those games should not be particularly close. If we assume that, USC can afford to lose this Utah game, and as long as you beat the Bruins in November, got the Pac-12 title game, got the chance to be 11-1 by beating Notre Dame. So this is like a freebie. I mean, it really is. I mean, people might not like to think that way, but this game against Utah, it's a game that USC could lose without consequence. And that's the value of this Washington State game, something I addressed during the week. If you lose to Washington State, then you have to win at Utah. But by beating Washington State, no, you don't have to win. It's not a must win. It would have been a must win if USC had lost this game or the Oregon State game. So USC is basically, sports betting is a big deal. USC's basically won a free bet, or it's won a risk-free token, basically by being unbeaten up to this point. It can lose to Utah and still have everything to play for, and would still be very, very, very likely to be 9-1 overall, 7-1 in the Pac-12 heading into that UCLA game on November 19th with everything to play for. So basically beating Washington State, it has bought USC leverage. It has bought USC leeway and a cushion such that it can now go to Utah and play free. But pressure's all on the Utes, guys. It's not on USC, even though USC is unbeaten. I mean, it's people will say, well, USC has to preserve an unbeaten season. But really, Utah's on the ropes now. Utah has to run the table. Utah's out of the playoff, but if Utah wants to have any chance of being in the Pac-12 title game, has to beat USC. We'll also have to beat Oregon in November now, but Utah must win. If Utah loses next week, it's a disaster for the Utes.
Well, and Mark, based on what we saw DTR do today to Oregon, I got to think Bo Nix is going to run wild on him.
Yeah, and of course it sets up Caleb Williams.
And not only based on what we saw DTR do and what we saw Anthony Richardson do a couple weeks ago. I think Bo Nix is going to have a Utah party.
Yeah, but just to kind of reset once again, people might say, oh, unbeaten USC goes into Salt Lake City trying to defend its unbeaten record. No, USC is not really defending anything. Utah is trying to defend. Utah is trying to defend its Pac-12 title, and USC should go in there not careless. This doesn't mean be lazy or be casual, but it just means we don't need to play with a burden. We can let it fly, go at them, go get them. Let's just showcase our abilities. It's not, we have to win this game at all costs. USC does not face that kind of pressure. Let's see if this liberates USC. Let the chips fall where they may. And hey, if you don't win, you still have everything to play for. The season's all lined up to be 9-1 entering the UCLA game with everything in front of them. So that's the value of beating Washington State. It took the pressure off for the Utah game. So it'll be fascinating to see what happens next week in Salt Lake.
And Matt, thanks, by the way, thanks for stopping by. I always love when you come by. But one thing we have to remember, the two losses have been where for the Utes? On the road. Mm-hmm. We all know the Utes are a whole different animal at home. And now they're a wounded animal at home.
Yep.
And now we're going there a bunch of pissed off Utes. And we're going to walk in there and that crowd's going to be angry. And you're like, right, they're backed into a corner. So now you got the whole their whole student section, there at Rice Eccles. And we're going to go walking into someone just walked and kicked that hornet's nest and we're coming around the corner, walking right into it. So I hope that we keep the juice we have going. We did seem like we kind of slowed down when we were up in Corvallis. So I'm hoping we come in there and we're firing all cylinders and we're nice and healthy. It'll be interesting to see this week. We don't get a lot. I know we don't get a lot of information on injuries, but I really want to hear how we're going into next week.
Jeffrey, I think Gixxer Squid's trying to get you in that Ole Miss hat.
Hey, Tim, I agree with your point.
I give him that.
He's the best.
Tim,
Go ahead, Rick. Sorry.
Tim, I agree with your point that the Utes are going to be pissed and it's going to be a hostile environment. But the great thing is USC had that test a couple weeks ago up in Corvallis with a bunch of loud unwelcoming, I think is a PC word or PC phrase to use. And so, hey, we've had that test. This team has been tested. That's what's beautiful about it. And again, the defense tonight stepped up, 5 sacks, 9 more tackles for loss. So we are already in the top 5 for sacks, and we are in the top 20 for TFLs. So that number is going to grow. So situational awareness at critical times, this defense is cashing in and it's executing. And I think, it's a beautiful thing. Tyrone Taleni had a sack in the second half. It was like, wow, this guy again gets another sack. And it was fantastic. And this is a game, the first game that we won without any turnovers. So that narrative, well, hey, USC's lucky. They wouldn't have won because these turnovers aren't going to happen every time. You're right. Those turnovers didn't happen every time, but we still got 9 TFLs and we got 5 sacks without Shane Lee patrolling the middle. So there you go. And without Kalen Bullock because of a Pac-12 missed call. So
I like your moxie, Rick. But I have to stop you. This secondary at Utah we're going to play are a lot better. And again, Rice Eccles, Corvallis. Not to I know we have our Oregon State fans. Corvallis is not Rice Eccles. I'm just saying. I really think that we were tested there. They had half a stadium, right? They had some very vile fans as well. I get that, but this going up there, playing at altitude, all the things that goes into the loud stadium, and all we just talked about how they're backed into a corner. And what really worries me is I believe they have at least 1, if not 2 NFL corners up there. So, I mean, I'm really, really worried about what's going on when we go to Utah. That's all.
They will. Yeah. I love Darius's point here, guys, about Travis Dye, who played for Oregon last year, has some revenge on his mind.
That's right.
That's a good point.
That's right. And here's the thing.
If there's anyone, you guys who watch the Reign of Troy show, I love, she calls him My Guy Die. So I agree with her. My Guy Die is exactly who I want with revenge on his mind.
Tim, I agree with you.
To be fair, half Reeser ain't Rice Eccles. That's very true. Even if they're pumping in illegal crowd noise.
Tim, I agree with you 100% with respect to Rice Eccles. It's a different Utah team. But you got to understand one thing now. We played 6 games. USC's played 6 games, and we've won a different way each time. This coaching staff is elite, okay? They know the opportunity that's in front of us. This is a kill shot, okay? And we're suffering from that other coaching staff PTSD. The fans that are sitting around me are suffering too. Because, I mean, the guy said to me, oh, we're dropping passes. I said, hey, Mario's going to take care of it. Don't worry. And he gets the touchdown like 30 seconds later. But that's PTSD. I get it. We all suffer. Andy, you suffer from it, right?
Of course.
We all suffer from it.
This is the kill shot.
Rick, I still suffer from Paul Hackett PTSD.
This elite coaching staff sees what's on the table. We are going to take out Utah, and they're going to be done. And then we move on, like Tony said, like a hot knife through butter with these other 3 teams, and then we get what we want. And UCLA is going to get what they want, right? Because we're going to fill the freaking Rose Bowl with our fans, and that's the first time they're going to make money in the Rose Bowl this year, and we're going to take out UCLA, and then we're going to play the Irish. So we control our destiny. We don't have to worry about the last 5 years and, I don't know about this. No, it's in our hands.